right, it is the 1st of October 2025. The days are going by so fast. Exactly 91 days to the end of the year, 85 days to Christmas. The countdown continues. Karibu sana. This is Wednesday. My name is Freddie Ndumuli.
International Day for Older Persons, the 1st of October. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Anne Wadida.
Nimesikia umesema older persons, watu wengine wakaniangalia. Kwani unafikiria wewe nimezeeka namna gani? But yes, I am ready to celebrate the International Day for Older Persons.
Ndio maana hujaisema? But lakini I am here for that.
Let's take a look at the headlines this morning. And Uhuru Gachagua wategana, sio watengana, wategana. And you'll realize this is a big headline going across most of the dailies.
Uhuru move jolts Ruto Gachagua.
Hapa wameongeza Ruto, sio Gachagua peke yake. Big war rocks Gachagua and Uhuru wings. Same story there on the front page of the Star.
People Daily, who owns the mountain?
Because it's Uhuru, Ruto, Gachagua in 2007 showdown. On the People Daily. It's only the Standard that has decided to go different. Today they're talking about the Secretary Generals of the parties. This is rabble-rousers, SGs, and they're looking at Hassan Omar, Edwin Sifuna, and Jeremiah Kioni. They could also be looking at Cleophas Malala, but Cleophas Malala is not the SG, is he? Deputy party leader. Yes. Anyway, that's the Standard. Matters business.
Finally, Business Daily, where investors made their money in the last 3 months.
Kuweka pesa kama uko nazo, that is. On State of the Nation, we'll be having these 3 legislators, Senator Joe Nyoto of Moranga, Nelson Kwech, the MP Belgut, and David Kiplagat, MP Soi constituency, starting at 6:30. Do stand by for this conversation. Of course, by now you know the big conversation. Ndio tunazungumzia mambo ya voter registration na kwa nini vijana wamesema hawata register, lakini ni kama Uhuru ameleta shida sana. All right. After that,
being a Wednesday, we're talking matters of the heart. Lakini, today, last month was Suicide Awareness Month. Today we'll be talking about the silent suicide epidemic with Nasim Kathe, psychologist, and Dr. Julius Kimani, a counselor.
Walisema kuna watu 432 walijitia kitanzi.
For real?
Yes.
We will look into that.
Yes, I think this year alone, which is a big number. All right. So we've been, those are the local dailies, and we'll come back to that in a short while. Tuvuke border to Uganda, where the official presidential campaigns are entering the second day today. And of course, Picha pale kwenye front page of the Daily Monitor talks about this. They call it snakes and ladders. Crowned, clowned. The release of aspirants' names for parliamentary positions of the National Unity Platform ticket left some party bigwigs in tears, while some newcomers and those favored by the system were on cloud 9. They cover this on pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. That is how big the politics is in Uganda. Hapa chini ni presidential campaign, hapa juu ni party tickets, ile National Unity Platform, ile ya Bobi Wine, parliamentary tickets. Kwa hivyo siasa imeshika, imenoga. On the front page of this paper, they're talking about nothing else. Museveni in Luero, and you can see yellow all over. Mugisha, meanwhile, Mugisha Muntu in Kampala. So politics, nothing else in Uganda.
Still in Uganda, New Vision 2026, Museveni to triple PDM cash. And NRM kicks off campaigns in Luwero. PDM cash ni gani?
PDM hata sijajua ni wagani hao.
All right. And Museveni tukiwa, unajua the New Vision ina ubaguzi sana. If we look at
Alisa wameonyesha the other candidate, one of the other candidates.
And they make mention of NUP as well.
But you see, when you go to Tanzania, they only do what New Vision has done. They only show one person.
All right. Other stories here. Kyagulanyi promises support for farmers. And this is Bobi Wine. Campaign. Promises and promises. Nandala, their promises Buvuma residents roads and power. And Muntu pledges clean leadership, urban reform. So actually, we may make mention of them.
Wameka kila mtu mahali.
They've tried. Will new MP flag bearer save or sink NUP? It's a question there on page 8. Kule chini, news doctor assistant charged over death of expectant mothers. That's the New Vision.
All right. That's in Uganda, where it's just day 2 of official campaign period. Meanwhile, in Tanzania, it is 28 days and counting to the, actually 28 days to election day. Yeah. But the front page of the Citizen wanazungumzia kwanza masuala ya economy alafu siasa ikuje baadaye. So how expiry of AGOA will affect Kenya, Tanzania? Na nimesema Kenya because it is true AGOA will affect Kenya and it expired yesterday. Uncertainty of accessing US market is growing among some African countries including Tanzania as a trade preference program between the two sides expired without renewal yesterday. 2000 is the African Growth and Opportunity Act, the year that it was introduced, and it gives over 1,800 products from sub-Saharan African countries duty-free access to the US market. Now, alisema in the Kenyan context, about 65,000 jobs will be lost because of that, mostly from the EPZ.
We were looking for a one-year extension. Didn't we get it?
Well, it expired without a renewal, meaning unless that renewal comes in the interim period, haiko.
Actually, today. Yes. I was listening to Trade Cabinet Secretary yesterday.
If we get it by today, fine. But you see, the problem is once that contract expires, for the few hours before you get a new one, hizo tariffs bado zinarudi.
Yeah.
Let's go to matters politics now. Samia launches Kilimanjaro campaign with pledges on infrastructure, health, and water. The story is on page 2. And unlike Uganda, the papers in Tanzania don't give or don't even make mention of any other candidate apart from ule wa CCM, Mama Samia Suluhu Hassan. Hata huwezi jua ni kama kuna 16 other candidates. Wacha hata ule wa kotini, 16 other candidates. Lakini kuna mmoja hapa amepewa time. Ule wa NLD anaitwa Doyo. He has vowed to tackle pressing challenges in Geita if elected president. Sorry, I do apologize. They've actually made mention. Back up at chini, cyber security not keeping pace with threats. That's according to Interpol, and that's the Citizen.
All right. Tukisalia kule, gazeti la Mwananchi, kitanzi kwa mama. Anasema mahakama yamtia hatiani yeye na mwanawe wa kiume kwa mauaji ya kukusudia ya binti yake baada ya hukumu kimya cha tawala. So they actually killed ndugu yao, their son. Interesting. Vita vya Mwinyi na Othman kusaka kura 717,557. Wanasema kwamba tume ya uchaguzi ya Zanzibar imetangaza kuwa jumla ya wapiga kura takriban watu hao 1,717 ikisonga mbele ndio walioidhinisha kushiriki katika uchaguzi mkuu utakaofanyika Oktoba tarehe 29. Vita vya Mwinyi na Othman kusaka kura. Mahakama yapiga stop mamilioni kutoka benki na kiasi cha fedha ambacho watuhumiwa wanadaiwa kuchota kwa kuingilia mifumo ya kampuni ya simu Tanzania kupitia mtandao wa T-Pesa ni shilingi taslimu bilioni 1.5 ya Tanzania.
Mobile money unatoa bilioni 1. Yaani unatoa bilioni.
Hiyo ni Tanzanian money.
Unaweza toa pesa 1.5 billion on your mobile phone. Useme niko na bilioni kadhaa.
Oh, wow. Mambo matatu kutumika kwa kumwenzi Daktari Salim. Na kule juu, masuala ya siasa, CCM kukamilisha miradi aliyoomba Msuya na Mwalimu ahidi viwanda.
But can you imagine this in Kenya? 28 days to election, alafu wanaanza na story ya kotini, kitanzi, o mama amehukumiwa kifo, wengine sijui mahakama imepiga stop nini. Ingekuwa ni Kenya.
Si
tushaanza. It's more than 23 months to election day. Siasa imejaa kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. 28 days to election day wanaweka siasa pale juu. Wako na mambo ingine ya kuzungumzia. All right, so these are the regional dailies and we'll be back to take a look at the local ones in a short while. Kwa sasa tuangazie masuala ya hali ya anga. Na tuliona jana, most indication was that there would be a cooling over the next few days. So let's start at the coast in Ukunda tuone kama kuna any cooling. It's currently 24 degrees Celsius. It promises to be a cloudy day. Highs of 28 degrees. And this will extend into the weekend and mostly into next week. No cooling at the coast. Actually, kule pwani, hakuna maswala ya kukul. Hiyo ni huku kwingine. Let's go up north to Marsabit.
It's 20 degrees in Marsabit, feels like 23 this morning. It's a mostly cloudy day. Highs of 30 degrees in Marsabit and precipitation here is nothing. Hapa kuna mvua hata kidogo. Lakini they're saying on Thursday, it will, 0.7 kidogo. Anasema it's likely to rain tomorrow on Thursday. Kidogo.
Slight cooling off probably by Sunday, 27 degrees, but
Yes,
nothing
tomorrow,
much. Yeah.
tomorrow it will rain 1.2 millimeters.
That's as far as Marsabit is concerned. Let's go to the eastern part of the country, Kibwezi, which is Makueni County, 18 degrees. They say it's a cloudy day, and they also promise here that it is going to cool up or cool off over the next 3 days. Highs of 33 degrees in Kibwezi. Ukambani kumeleta problem. 33 degrees in Ukambani. Pale usipokunywa maji utaumia.
Wako nayo hata maji. Si unasema
wewe ndio umesema.
Wewe acha hawana maji.
But it promises to get cooler as we get closer to the weekend. By Saturday, 28 degrees. Then a bit of high temperatures on Sunday. Next week again, it drop kidogo. But today is a bit, I think, the hottest in Kibwezi. Murang'a, Mount Kenya region.
It's 14 degrees this morning in Murang'a, feels like it. It's a mostly cloudy day, highs of 28 degrees, and precipitation in Murang'a, nothing to show. But on Friday, it will rain. Yani from Friday.
Yes, it starts cooling off at the weekend, 25, 24 into next week. All right, that's Murang'a. Rift Valley, Eldoret, 13 degrees, mostly cloudy. That promised some cooling off as we continue. Highs of 23 degrees today. Yes, and after today, it starts going down by Friday, 21 degrees. Sunday gets a bit warmer at 22 degrees. But a bit of precipitation expected there at 4.9 millimeters in Eldoret. The Lake Victoria region.
Nasikia kuna kelele Siaya.
Siaya? Nilisikia kuna watu walipigana kule.
18 degrees, rain likely around 1 p.m. in Siaya. It's a cloudy day, highs of 27 degrees. Precipitation here, 8.3 millimeters.
And that's the highest, yeah.
They need it.
Yes.
8.3 millimeters.
Yes, also we do expect some cooling off as we get to the weekend. Sunday will be, or next week, lows of highs of 25 degrees from 27, so not so bad. And finally, Nairobi, sit in the sun. Mbona inaleta imepotea.
But it's 14 degrees in Nairobi. Tuangalie tu. It's 14.
Hii hatuwezi kosa kuangalia. Hii tukikosa kuangalia Nairobi tutaambiwa ni kama hatuelewi vile tunafanya.
Here we have it.
Okay. Yes, 13 degrees. Cooling expected over the next 3 days. Mostly cloudy in Nairobi. Leo kuna cloud cover. Highs, huku ni Nairobi kweli?
It's Nairobi. Wambie feels like?
Feels like 14. Highs of 28 degrees, which is the warmest we've seen in a very long time. But from tomorrow, it starts cooling off. 27, Friday 25, Saturday 21. And into next week, cooler temperatures expected in Nairobi. As far as precipitation is concerned, 0. Hakuna mvua, but at least today will be the warmest. Then after tomorrow, it starts dipping in Nairobi. Fine. It's exactly
12 minutes.
12 minutes past 6. Let's take a look at the traffic situation. Na ni kama walikuwa wanataka kupotea hii. Most of the kuna shida tayari ninaona. Pale Pangani interchange, this is too early for us to have this kind of trouble. Hii hata niwaambie, hii rudi nyumbani, poleni sana. Hii just go back home if you're coming to town. Watu wanatumia Thika Road, just as you dip from survey areas, you get to the Utali Drift, going up Mathare Mental Hospital before the Pangani interchange. Angalia. Hii kama sijui unaenda town sijui. Kama una njia nyingine ya kupitia ama siku hizi chopper ni mingi, panda chopper because ukifika hapa hapo opposite National Youth Service utashinda hapo the whole day. Hiyo ni shida. Hapo kuna shida. Thika Road, if you can avoid, tafadhali avoid. Kule kwingine iko sawa. All the way from Ruiru is not so bad. Huko ni wapi naona mpaka Blue Post. Huko ni Thika. Anyway. But it's smooth all the way until you get to that Utali Drift, which promises to be actually a problem. If we can actually come back at 6:30 and take a look at how Thika Road will be, because I can see that one will definitely be a problem. Other roads, nothing much to report. Jogoo Road ni ile ya kawaida pale Makadara na pale City Stadium roundabout. Haile Selassie Avenue, ukiingia town, not so bad. Landis Road, sijui kwa nini hai update. But the other major tributary into town, all the way from the airport, Mombasa Road, ile first floor express na ile pale chini, it's green at this time of day. You can get into town very fast. The other side, Southern Bypass, Langata Road, Magadhiwe, Ngong Road, and Wayakiwe into the CBD, it's looking good, green all the way. So shida, iko hapa. Just before you get to the Pangani interchange, all the way from the Utali Drift, hapo kuna shida. Na utakaa. Kama unaweza avoid, tafadhali, do that.
All right, let's have the quote of the day.
every time you decide to push past fear, doubt, or insecurity, you step closer to the person you're meant to be. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it.
Asubuhi ya leo magazeti mengi ya Kenya yanakubaliana na habari kuu ni gani, na ndio hii: Uhuru Gachagua wategana. Anasema rais mstaafu na aliyekuwa naibu rais wapigania ubabe wa Mlima Kenya. Mzozo wa kisiasa unatokota kati ya rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta na aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua unaweka hatarini juhudi za kubuni muungano wa upinzani nchini, huku kila mmoja wao akijisawiri kama msemaji mkuu wa eneo la Mlima Kenya. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. We've been discussing this story since Monday. Sasa hii magazeti yote yameamua this is the big story today. Itabidi tuzungumzie tu tena. Na kwanza leo tuko na Jonyo ule wa Murang'a. Na tuko na ule jamaa wa Belgut, Nelson Koech, na David Soi ule wa David Kiplagat ule wa Soi. So, nani ndio msemaji wa Mlima Kenya? Who's the kingpin? Who owns the mountain? That's a question actually. Vidokezo zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele: IEBC kutumia mboni ya jicho kusajili. And I saw someone talking about this, that they were actually scanning the iris of those people who are showing up to register for as voters. So they're using your eye biometrics.
Why?
I don't know, it's never happened before, but wanasema IEBC kutumia mboni ya jicho kujisajili. So usistuke sana, teknolojia mpya ya usajili wa wapiga kura inajumuisha kunasa mboni za macho, sio fingerprint tu. Unakuja unaweka jicho, wanaangalia. And you remember there's a time some organization, international organization came to Kenya, wakakuja wakajaribu kufanya hivyo, watu wakakasirika sana.
Yeah.
Sababu ya uchaguzi kuwa ghali bado ni masuala ya IEBC. Ukosefu wa imani kwa IEBC miongoni mwa Wakenya ndio sababu, according to huyo mwenyekiti anaitwa Ethicon wa IEBC. Unajua ile election ya 2027 will cost about 61 billion shillings. The by-elections that are coming up in November will cost about 10.2 billion shillings. Meanwhile, the registration of voters will cost about 7 billion shillings.
Okay.
Ni pesa tu, mabilioni ya pesa.
So walipewa 57
Twitter
billion wakakataa.
Wale watu wa Tanzania wakuja wako na mabilioni kwa pesa watupe. Jirani, poleni lakini. Kwingineko, Dio aeleza ukatili wa Al-Shabaab na masuala ya Marekani. Trump atoa masharti kwa Hamas, masuala ya Middle East. Kule juu, kitengo cha kukabili mimba za utotoni kuundwa, kitengo kipya kulinda wasichana kutokana na mimba ya mapema na walimu dhalimu. Alafu jana nilisikia waziri wa afya akisema sasa going forward teenage mothers will not be charged. So watu walikuwa wanamuuliza, are you encouraging teenage pregnancy by telling them they won't be charged at hospital? Yeah.
No, it's not encouraging. You know, I don't understand why people are mad by that statement. Because looking at it, I know your story, Linda Mama and Linda Jamii, that is what is making people mad. But Linda Mama was also prioritizing teenage mothers because they're a vulnerable group of people. So, you know, the jitters about Linda Jamii, watu wamejam, like they're wondering why we are prioritizing teenage mothers. They're a vulnerable group. So addressing free delivery does not address the outcome. Does not address the cause, it addresses the outcome.
And you're passionate about this.
I'm passionate about health. You know that.
All right. So yes, definitely a big debate there. Maswala ya spoti. UEFA, vigogo wa klabu bingwa Ulaya ama windoni, miamba wa Denmark watakunjua jamvi la msururu wa mechi wakikabili wanyonge wa Azerbaijan leo. Mitwa wanyonge hao. Gazeti la taifa leo.
All right, and it's funny because it's the very first time natetea the health CS. Amekuwa out of order so many times.
I think the way he sounds, even his tone, just comes out wrong.
Yeah.
When he talks about teenage mothers. And I agree with you, probably it's something that should be lauded, but when it comes from the current CS of health, people just take it in the wrong way. Yeah.
We have to know that teenage pregnancies are already on the rise in this country as well. Daily Nation, Uhuru move, jolts Ruto and Gachagua. They ask second chance after his botched 2022 succession plan. Jubilee leader is back. Now, twice in 8 months, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta has held talks with his successor, William Ruto, giving the impression of a ceasefire by the former allies turned force. But the return of Mr. Kenyatta to the political arena with a bare knuckles attack on the government has collapsed the short-lived truce and also upset opposition leaders who are not spared his stinging criticism. What is he up to? This story has been covered on page 4. On Red-Bush government, the president and ODM leader Raila Odinga's allies have attacked Mr. Kenyatta for his harsh criticism of the manner in which the country is being governed. Nakula United Opposition, the revival of Jubilee Party and association with former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has triggered furious reactions from the former Deputy President's camp. Uhuru move jolts Ruto and Gachagua. Other stories here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Team to probe school sex pests. And the Education Ministry will set up a specialized unit to address rising cases of teenage pregnancies. You see, since January 2024, 69 teachers have been sacked by the TSC for sexually abusing learners. Former DO recounts Al-Shabaab captivity. This is Edward Yese, then a district officer in Wajir County. He was one of the people who was kidnapped. Was it in January?
Oh, yes, yes. The chiefs were kidnapped.
Hapa wanasema in January 2012, Edward Yese, then a district officer in Wajir County, was kidnapped by Al-Shabaab terrorists. He speaks out in his harrowing ordeal during his 19 months in captivity in Somalia. Okay, this is 2012. All right. Ex-KNH boss, 229 million shillings cash assets frozen in graft war. That is Evanson Kamuru, Dr. Evanson Kamuru. And finally, IEBC blames mistrust for 61 billion shillings elections budget. On the back page, Kenyan coach Ali has big plans for Mogadishu club. This Somali football is unstable, but we are holding on, says tactician. And how mission to shed off weight shaped Lagat into celebrated marathoner.
How Mogadishu club ni wale walikuja wakacheza na flag, ama their fans.
That
fans. Si wachezaji.
Actually,
ni
they're minors. It's 14 and 17.
Tunai kujua kaa ni minors. Usicheze bendera. Sema usiguze mlima, usiguze bendera tafadhali. Gazeti la Daily Nation. Same story, same theme on the front page of the Star. Big war rocks Gachagua and Uhuru wings. Ni kama watu walikutana, all the editors of all the major newspapers wakutana wakaketi chini wakaamua now. Story ni hii. Competing ambitions to control Mt.Kenya, vendettas at play. That's a story on pages 4 and 5. That's a spread on the Star. Same thing that we've been talking about. What does this mean? Uhuru's return. Anakuja, anauma upande hii moja, anauma upande ile ingine ya Gachagua, na aliwaambia hizo mambo ya regional parties. Mimi hata msiniita ati nikuje niwasaidie ati kingpin nini. Mimi sitaki hiyo maneno. Na upande mwingine nawaambia mimi ile kazi yote nilifanya mumeimwagilia maji. Uhuru Kenyatta, very interesting. I like that he has now jolted everyone into action. If at all politically you speak and no one responds to you,
you're doing nothing.
Well, uko. Lakini kama unazungumza tu hivi kitu kidogo na kila mtu including the president had to respond to Uhuru Kenyatta, means that you're actually consequential. Yeah. Other stories on the front page of this paper. Disease leaves fish farmers with huge losses. And there's a very worrying picture there of a cage filled with dead tilapia after a mysterious disease swept Kisumu's Dunga Beach. Natakula samaki kweli. That story is on page 25 of this paper. For fish lovers, this is a story that you may want to pay attention to. Yes, inside IEBC's 10 billion shilling plan to register 6.3 million voters. So the IEBC has unveiled, hata nilisema 7, sasa hapa inasema according to this story, 9.6 billion strategy to register at least 6.3 million. Sasa unatumia 9.6 billion to register 6.3 million voters. Hebu fanya hiyo hesabu tujue ni pesa ngapi per voter to register one voter. Yeah. The commission will rely on constituency offices, Huduma centers, ward-based drives, institutions of higher learning and diaspora registration to meet the ambitious target. The story is on page 7. How Kandara man escaped grisly accident that claimed 16 lives. That's the story about the accident at Kariandusi along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway that claimed the lives of 16 members of one family. Pale juu, Obado's 235 million shilling anti-graft deal at risk after EACC rejects plea bargain. Aliambiwa arudishe vitu na ODPP wakakubaliana na yeye arudishe pesa fulani alafu amwachilie. EACC wamesema hiyo tumekataa.
Bado wasafari.
Hiyo tumekataa. Nakwambia, maisha inaweza kugeuka vibaya sana. Chunga sana. Alright, hapa nilikuwa nimeona ama siko hii gazeti, maybe ni gazeti ingine. Alright, that's the Star.
All right, People Daily, who owns the mountain is a question they ask on the front page of the People Daily this morning. Battle lines, Uhuru, Ruto and Gachagua in 2027 showdown. This is on page 4. At sasa waneka William Ruto pia tikwa who owns the mountain.
No, the thing is, William Ruto actually got the most votes from the mountain in 2022. So watu wana assume kama mulimpatia kura means that to some extent you had accepted him.
Si Gachagua alikuwa hapo.
There are those who argue. Now, Jaiske wanasema, William Ruto got the votes himself. No one can claim that he's the one who took William Ruto to the mountain.
Oh, wow, okay. Very nice. Very nice.
You don't believe in that, do you?
Where? Koma. CS Wahome on the spot, over 1.3 billion shillings. Loresho Landro. On the top strip, why Bukusu and Maragoli rivalry may end with Natembeya. Why Bukusu Maragoli rivalry? What did I say?
No. But it's almost a tongue twister. Maragoli rivalry.
All right, that's the People Daily this morning.
All right, from the People Daily, let's take a look at matters. So this is the only paper that decided to go with a different story altogether, the Standard. So they talk about rouser SGs, and they're calling them loose tongues. Kenya's political parties are reeling from a new wave of indiscipline as Secretaries General, once trusted to be the official voices of their movements, morph into political mercenaries. From ODM's Edwin Sifuna to Jubilee's Jeremiah Kioni and UDA's Hassan Omar, the misuse of party logos and platforms to settle personal scores is fueling bitter contradictions, sowing confusion and raising questions over whether party leaders or their renegade secretaries truly speak for the rank and file. Now, and after reading this statement, I can get where it's coming from. In response to one of the headlines that the Standard had written or published, this SG of UDA wrote and made reference to the said owner of the paper, who was the son of a former president. Now, alafu akamuita, addressing him, Gideon blah blah blah, akamuita retired son of a former president. Now, is a president retired, or is this a retired son of someone? If I call you a retired daughter of your mother,
I am disowned.
Can you retire from being a child of your parent? So they called him with the complete party logo and what do you call that thing in Kapale? Ile karatasi official ya chama, alafu anamwandikia retired son of a former president. So that story continues on page 4. And on page 4, they even include the deputy party leader of DCP. Wanasema pia anaongea sana. Lakini wamequote hapa Sabina Chege anasema, in my view, what secretary generals should not occupy other elective positions. They should only communicate the decisions reached by the party organs. Most of them are conflicted on certain issues. And when they speak, their remarks are mistaken to be those of their political parties. Rogue SGs, thin line between loose tongues and party positions. Hawajaambiwa poa. Hapo hamjaambiwa poa poleni.
Who is the DCP Secretary General?
Hata tujui, tunajua tu deputy party leader na party leader. Alafu tunajua ule wakili anaitwa nani? Ndegwa Njiru, huyo piga kelele sana. Medics to down tools, that's another story on the front page of this paper, with doctors, clinical officers and laboratory staff threatening to rally behind their striking Kiambu colleagues who have been on strike for 4 months. The country is staring at paralysis of services that could plunge patients into unprecedented suffering. That story is on page 6, and they use the image there of the SG KMPDU. To Bavji? Davji.
Atala. Davji Atala.
That one. AGOA. Kenya looks to China for duty-free exports, and this is following the expiry of the AGOA deal with the US at midnight. So we do expect that probably they're pursuing a new deal. If they don't, 65,000 jobs are on the line. That's the Standard. Kule nyuma kuna story moja niliona. Watu wa Manu hawatafurahia sana. William Saliba commits future 5 years deal to Arsenal with new contracts. Moko iguo.
Finally,
Business Daily.
Business Daily, where investors made their money in the last 3 months. In the shares at the NSC rewarded investors with the highest returns in the third quarter of the year, eclipsing bonds and cash deposits, whose gains dropped in the wake of falling interest rates. Now they're saying investors walieka pesa yao hapo kwa Nairobi Securities Exchange, how they made their money. Due to the interest of time, how Ethiopia saved Kenya from power rationing and blackouts, another story on page 2 of the Business Daily this morning. On the ticker, state eyes 2.7 billion shillings relief from forest concession deals. SACCOs recruit 637,696 members as deposits hit 749 billion shillings. And finally, Family Bank 6 shareholders nod for Nairobi Bourse listing. Right. That's the Business Daily.
Tuangalia wachoraji wanasema nini. Just a reminder, Jonyo to Senator Muranga, Nelson Koech MP Belgut, and David Kiplagat MP Soy are the panelists this morning on State of the Nation, looking at the big headlines in a few minutes' time. Do stand by for that. Once again, another conversation coming up later.
The silent suicide epidemic with Nasim Katha and Dr. Julius Kimani, both psychologists.
All right. Wachoraji wanasema nini leo? Na tunaanza na karakacha ya gazeti la The Star. They have a desk here branded IEBC, of course voter registration continuing, lakini hapa chini kuna jamaa kuna calculator, yule jamaa mlima anahesabu kura pale, lakini kuna watu wawili wanamwambia remove mine from that number. Ile namba unajiandikia, toa yangu. Usifikirie yote ni yako. And this is a big discussion. Who owns the mountain? It's now up for grabs.
This is the Daily Nation, and hey, my policies, the Linda Mama anafungwa mdomo hapo. This is former President Uhuru Kenyatta, caricatured here. There's a CS for Health and the president as well. Jana walimkashifu, the president said, Linda Mama was good, but Linda Jamii is definitely better.
Alafu mwingine siasa akasema kwanza hiyo Linda Mama iliacha deni ya 5.6 billion shillings.
Yes. And sasa bado wameshindwa kulipa claims for SHA for that Linda Jamii.
So, lakini kama hawajalipa mbona anasikia machungu na hawajalipa? Unajua angekuwa amelipa angesema yeye ilibidi tulipe. Hajalipa?
Wako na hiyo NHIF and then now they have their SHA bado imeongezwa hapo. Daily Nation.
Daily Nation. The cartoon on the People Daily has Baba. Yeah, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga there, na kuna spanner toolbox imejaa pale, anang'ang'ana kupili orange. Anasema, hold on, I can hear the ground saying Baba Tosha 2027. Time to fix the orange. Okay. This, according to this cartoonist, Raila Odinga could be considering a stab, a 6th stab at the presidency.
All right, finally, there's the clergy here and the government. Na sijui wana, they're pointing hands at each other.
Pigania kelele tu huko, alafu ule Wanjiko kwa pale anasikiza tu.
Anasema the country headed in the wrong direction. I think this is in regards to the InfoTrack polls last week, that's Thursday, said 57% of Kenyans think the country is headed in the wrong direction. And Wanjiko anasema, let me mind my own business, which neither of you minds.
So yeah, jali kenye makanisa ama wanasiasa wanasema, nyi pigeni kelele, si tusha move on. All right. I don't know, as you try and get some feedback, let's just take a look at the traffic situation once more along Thika Road, because we had seen there was a problem, and yes, that traffic has extended all the way to Allsops. So those using Outer Ring Road towards town, once you get to Thika Road, it is a very slow journey all the way from Allsops to the Pangani interchange. If you can avoid that section, please do, because that's heavy traffic. All the way past KCA University, past Survey, past Utali Drift, Mathare Mental Hospital, into the Pangani interchange. It is also affecting traffic coming from Kiambu Road at Muthaiga. So yes, that's the biggest problem, and I just wanted to update you as well. If you can avoid that section of Thika Road, please do.
All right, and I'm seeing a very interesting feedback here. First of all, thank you so much for waking up with us. Asante sana. Anaitwa Rebel Salute. Amenitaga kasema pali Twitter. Ati Ano Dida Ruto was accepted way before Gachagua came into the equation. So his photo in the People Daily is justified, and don't assume he still has his deputy from there. Sawa Rebel. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation this morning, and keep interacting with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya, on Facebook and on YouTube. On X at TV47 Digital. My handle on X is at @Ann_Dida, and the hashtag is MorningCafe TV47.
My handle on X is at Fred Indimuli. See you after the break.
is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upward, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate.
IEBC's ambitious push to register more than 6 million voters ahead of the 2027 polls has increased the appetite for the Gen Z vote, with political parties leaving nothing to chance to woo the crucial voting bloc that will not only influence the outcome of the poll, but will make and break political careers.
Nobody can beat Ruto without Gen Z support. Nobody. Nobody, forget about it. Not just in terms of the vote the Gen Z will bring. The energy, the vigor, the work, and the way they will not just mobilize for people to vote, but the way they will guard the vote. Anybody will think twice before doing monkey business with the 2027 election if the Gen Z are involved.
President William Ruto seeking a second term in office, ODM party leader Raila Odinga and the United Opposition Alliance, which is seeking to end Ruto's reign after one term in power, are all scrambling for the Gen Z vote, a move that has forced their respective parties to deploy strategies and woo the Gen Zs.
Gen Z mpo! Gen Z mpo! Nyinyi Gen Z ndio dawa ya kasongo. Gen Z ndio dawa ya kasongo. Kesho hii tunaamuka, tunaanza kuchukua kura. Naomba nyinyi vijana wangu wa Gen Z, mchukue kura, mtusaidie kufukuza kasongo.
On Monday, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka raised the stakes after he mobilized university student leaders at his Wiper Party headquarters, where he even promised to make June 25th, 2024 Protest Day a public holiday if elected in 2027.
This mandamano must continue. I've announced that on the 25th of June every year, that when we take over that, we'll convert it to a public holiday because it is a day. That is a day when young Kenyans decided enough is enough.
Former DP Rigathi Gachagwa's DCP party, apart from appointing the youth in the party leadership ranks, has also resolved all its aspirants for the 1,490 wards countrywide must be 35 years and below. President Ruto's UDA party, apart from mobilizing the youth to register as voters, has in its wraps the UDA Comrade chapter and the Youth Congress forums, which seek to consolidate the youth voice.
Gen Zs will be the only defining factor, as a matter of fact, in 2027. Because we have to look at the statistics, look at the 2019 census. The Gen Zs are whooping 80.6 million. The millennials are over 12 million. Millennials and Gen Zs together, they make 30 million voters.
ODM in July this year unveiled the Young Captains chapter, a wing within the ODM Women League, made up of young women from institutions of higher learning.
We have a young captains.
Despite the charm offensive, political analysts say the biggest test for political parties is whether their message will resonate with the Gen Zs, who are considered tribeless. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Yes, indeed, the Gen Z vote, what is expected to be recorded or registered into the roll of voters in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise that resumed on Monday this week. It is still a big discussion. The first 2 days since its resumption, a poor turnout recorded across the country. But according to the IEBC chairperson, this exercise will cost not less than 9.6 billion shillings. This morning, we're privileged to have in studio David Kiplagat, MP Soi, and Joe Nyoto, Senator Murang'a County. Karibuni sana, gentlemen. Let's start from there. The level of, before we even come to the cost of elections and even registration, there appears to be some sort of lethargy. We saw quite some activity, political, if we may call it political awakening of the younger generation. But when it comes to registration as voters, they don't seem to be as excited about it. Why do you think that is, Bwana Kiplagat?
Thanks a lot, Indomuli, and good morning to our viewers. Just to start it off, the exercise that is currently being undertaken by IEBC to register new voters to our voters roll is quite important. And first we call upon everyone who is in Kenya and also diaspora who has not registered as a voter to take this opportunity to be able to register as a voter. Having said that, it's important to note that the registration process is a continuous process, and there was a pause because of the issues of the commission, but now that the commission is fully formed and fully operational, you will recall that they should be able to register voters up to 8 months to the election, I presume so. So given that, and it's a continuous process from now on until 2027 end of December, they should be able to register as much voters as possible. So there is still time. I don't want us to start the banning mode. As usual, when you are starting a long all-over process, that liturgy is always there. But as you go along, because a long process, assuming it was only maybe for 2 or 3 days, then you will raise concerns. But given that this is a process that will take around 1.5 years from now, so we are still within the loop. The other bit is that you know, for everything it has to be. You need to have something like a drive. So I believe as time goes and the various drives occurs, maybe the politicians who are also the main stakeholders will start their own drives, and all the people who are concerned with they want the voters to register, they will do their own drives. So as we continue as time goes, quite a number of Kenyans will be able to register. So we don't need to raise an alarm for now. But it is important that the other bit recorded before. The other bit, I believe, because of the issue of expenditure, is that they have not broadened to go to do all of them at once per polling station. So I believe the strategy also the IEBC should employ is to make sure that at the end of the day, they should be able to allocate for every polling station, they should be able to allocate like a week so that they move on. Because when you tell somebody registration is occurring in Eldoret, and someone has to travel for around 60 or so kilometers just to go and register, the appetite might not be there. Okay. But when they are brought as closer as possible, then it becomes easier for so as that exercise, they start going from polling station to polling station, then maybe the review that we need to look at is that maybe after 6 months from now, okay, having developed a strategy that they go polling station by polling station, then we can review how
do you share this optimism? Because the problem is that last elections, 2022, we saw even out of the registered over 22 million registered voters, only about 14-15 million voted, meaning that many people felt that probably their ballots will not count. Do you think that that is the same belief that this time round there's no need even to register as a voter?
Thank you, Fred. And you know, they say never judge a book by the cover. But even that be the even if that is the case, but the turnout yesterday was a little disappointing because generally the people that are expected to register as new voters are Gen Zs, actually, because the other older people were already registered in previous elections. And so we had expected it to elicit a lot of interest, to provoke a lot of interest in Gen Zs. But it's still early, and I want to agree with Honorable DK that we still have time. These Gen Zs are also Kenyans. And you know, in Kenya, people normally like doing things towards the deadline. And so I'm still hopeful and optimistic that we'll be able to register many young voters. But one concern, Fred, is the issuance of ID cards. Because without an ID card, of course, you cannot register as a voter in Kenya. And there are concerns that I don't know whether it is in some areas, because where I come from, there are concerns of delayed issuance of ID cards, so that you'll find young men and women who applied and their biometrics were taken months ago are yet to receive their IDs. And so I think even as we mobilize young people to go and register as voters, we also need to tell the government, especially the department, the registrar of persons, that they must hasten the process of issuance of ID cards to enable the youths and other people to register as voters. But as it is now, I don't think it's too early to judge or to start being pessimistic that we are not going to attain the numbers the IEBC hopes to register. Okay. So let's give it time, and probably after some time, we can always reassess the situation and know whether we need to do more mobilization or what needs to be done.
All right. And yesterday, the IEBC chairperson revealed that the commission will rely on the constituency offices that they've done in the first phase, but they'll go further. Huduma centers will be used for this process. Ward-based drives will be conducted. Institutions of higher learning, as well as diaspora registration, will be conducted as well to meet the ambitious targets that probably will spread across time. But there's now the issue of cost. Of course, the IEBC has already asked for 61 billion shillings to run the elections in 2027. The by-elections that are coming up in November, 10 billion shillings, 10.2 billion shillings. Now, this exercise alone, the voter registration, will cost another 9.6 billion shillings. And according to the IEBC chairperson, he says that this is purely because of trust issues. People simply do not trust the process. They do not trust the IEBC. There's a lot of doubt and pessimism about the entire process. That's meaning that Kenya is only second to Papua New Guinea in as far as how much per person it costs to take you through an election. 2,200 shillings per person just to vote. Do you agree that we have one among the most costly elections unnecessarily?
At least I agree with you perfectly, 100%. I think Kenya runs the most amorphous costly elections every cycle. I've never understood as to why, because looking at it critically and having also served as a member to the Public Accounts Committee, having invested in a system which we all agree it's most perfect, because once you have a system whereby you can authenticate through biometric means, then it means at least you know the voter actually appeared and he voted. As to the influence in the voting, all depends also on the candidates and their agents. So this system costs, the initial cost, the initial input cost on the system is presumed to be high. But after you have acquired the system, I don't know what else becomes expensive. Maybe we might need, because looking at it critically on the information that I'm briefly of, if you look at even the pending bill of IEBC, out of a pending bill of around 18 billion, you will get like 15 billion are legal fees. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a pending bill. If you look at the total budget of IEBC, quite a chunk, maybe up to around 50%, will go to the legal fees. So, if we can address that component alone on legal fees, it will really cut down on the cost of the elections. And I have not known why we have all these, because you will also look at the charges, the cost that the lawyers give to IEBC. They are crazy. You will sometimes get somebody billing around 500 million.
But look at this process, for example, voter registration. Yeah. 9.6 billion shillings to register about 6.3 million voters in total, which comes down to about more than 1,500 shillings to register one person.
That's why it's upon the Legal and Justice Departmental Committee to be able to look at that budget and scrutinize so that they can tell us which is this costly thing that is so costly to do. Because I believe the systems are there in terms of the only thing that you require is the human expenditure, that is the clerks and people who are registering. So the figure alone is huge. So what now remains is for the respective oversight committee to be able to look at now critically, why should we be able to spend, you said 61 billion in this financial year to do an election. I think we have quite a number of areas that Kenyans will want their money to be spent on. So let us try to create a lean, transparent and accountable elections without necessarily, you know what happens in Kenya. People create fear. And then
that's the issue.
When they
money enough to sort out that.
When they create fear, now they ask for everything. You know, when somebody has threatened that I'm going to kill you, you will do everything. So I think let us, without putting emotions and fear into this election, let us look critically as to what is actually the cost-effective value to be able to do elections. And then this idea of replacing, I don't know whether they replace systems every 5 years. I think we need to get a bit serious.
But the question is throwing money at the problem.
But maybe as I finish, there are two components that if we address, it's going to solve the cost. The issue of the legal fees and the issue of the system.
All right. Because it's a trust issue. The ballot paper in Kenya has more than 11 security features. And the insistence is that it cannot be even printed in Kenya. It has more security features than even the Kenyan currency that at one point was being printed in Kenya. Definitely it's about trust. Is throwing money at it the best solution? That the more money we spend, the more trust Kenyans will gain in the electoral process? Senator.
Fred, this expenditure is just too high. And regardless of the fact that we need a free and fair election, and we need those security features in ballot papers and the whole system, as it were, we still need to interrogate the expenditure items. Like my friend and colleague DK is saying, I mean, this does not concern just IEBC, legal fees, because this is the monster even in counties. I mean, organizations are losing a lot of money through legal fees. And what all of us need to ask ourselves and all these organizations is, why do they have legal departments? I mean, why do we still keep securing legal services, outsourcing legal services when we have legal departments? Why would IEBC not establish a good legal department, have lawyers who draw a monthly salary and who represents IEBC in any legal matter? Because, the figures that you'll see in legal fees, and like I tell you, even in counties, are obscene figures. Hundreds of millions. And then you are left wondering, why would any particular organization pay that kind of money when they can afford? There are so many lawyers who would be ready to work for a salary. So I think legal fees need to be interrogated, especially with IEBC. The system again, and I do not want to be to engage in plagiarism, but the systems again. Once we establish a system, we should only be able maybe to improve on it, subsequently. We should not keep getting new systems. And we must look at it wholesomely. We have had a very big issue also with the new system, with SHA. Why we have to do away with this tradition or this culture of we must get a new system with every new thing, because it is an avenue of corruption. So I don't want to fault IEBC and say that they are engaging in corruption, but I think we need to interrogate these expenditure items and ask hard questions.
I'm still not getting the answer to the issue of trust, because I think, and according to the IEBC chairperson, that is the biggest problem, that our election is too expensive because there's already a lot of mistrust in the process, and they're looking for ways to ensure that they can build confidence, and by that, they end up spending a lot more. For example, this time around, they're even using the biometrics to register voters, just to boost the level of confidence.
But then why, I mean, how much does it cost and why should it be that expensive? I mean, this is the age of technology. I mean, Fred.
Technology is expensive as well.
It's expensive, yes, but technology is not as expensive as it were, I mean, a few years ago with everything. I mean, the kind of phone, for example, that used to cost this amount of money, of course, it's cheaper now. I mean, with technology, with advancement in technology, I think the costs, and the DK should be able to advise us because I think he's an IT expert. The costs are supposed to go down. But this is not the only country where, I mean, people have to make sure that an election is free and fair. So the issue of trust, and I like what you are saying, that money will not solve the problem of trust.
For example, Senator, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust the IEBC to deliver free and fair elections? A credible process.
Well, maybe which IEBC? You know, it depends.
This IEBC.
These IEBC. These IEBC, I have a lot of. I have very low. I mean, trust ratio on them.
Why?
Because of the way they were nominated, and we have discussed this before. I mean, there were issues. I mean, I don't want to get back because we may not have time.
So even
to the commissioners, because these are Ruto commissioners. So I may not have a lot of interest in it, but then my interest, I mean my trust in them, but my trust is in the system.
So the system has to be expensive for you to trust the process?
No. You know, the system doesn't have to be that IT system, that technological, that technology. The system, as in, for example, we have a system where the results of the election are determined at the polling station. So that regardless of what maybe the commissioners may want to do, but if I have my agents at the polling station, at least I trust that process, that I had agents at the polling station. I mean, they were there, they were present during voting. I also had agents as they were counting. At least I trust that part. But IEBC commissioners, the trust ratio may be low. But generally, we should not have a lot of worry about the whole election because it ends at the polling station.
Yet, listening to politicians, and he's one of them, but the other politicians...
And he is also one of them.
Yes, and the other politicians have not done any better to try and build confidence on the IEBC. You've heard your colleagues say about how they're going to stuff ballot papers, how they're going to rig the elections. All this is building towards the destruction of the level of confidence in the IEBC. That's why it's costing us this more, don't you agree?
Maybe just a rebuttal, first of all, to what Senator Nyotu has said on the trust level to IEBC commissioners. You know, he's also contradicting himself because he's saying the election, rightfully so, that the elections, the primary elections ends at the polling station. And I believe all the commissioners that are currently in office are currently in office constitutionally as per the dictates of the enabling laws and also the enabling articles of our constitution. I have never seen any of those IEBC commissioners being at the polling station. So if the exercise ends at the polling station, and you are saying you don't trust the IEBC commissioners, the commissioners, the only thing is that they receive the data and pronounce. And they pronounce the data that have already been communicated through that system. You remember, they have already been communicated through that system. So, at the polling station, something that counts is one that now it is incumbent upon people who are participating in an election to make sure that they are trustworthy agents. That's very key. You make sure that you have a very trustworthy agents. And having said that, there was another misconception that is coming out, that the opposition will always want to build fear that their votes will be stolen. Suppose I mention something that, oh, we are going to Nini, we are going to do this, we are going to do, but you know very well, where do you want to invest in the
You don't think such statements?
You invest in the elections
The ones that create fear?
at the polling station level. You see, you don't need to respond to every noise. Suppose I come here and I'm saying, I'm going to make sure that you are not coming to the studio.
Of course, I will have reason to fear about my security and whether or not I'll be able to make it to
you get, but I've
These
no
elected leaders
I've
were
no
speaking on public
capacity. I've
forum.
no capacity to stop you to come to the studio.
If they say that they will stuff ballot boxes, that they will rig elections come 2027,
those are just fear mongers.
do you think that those statements, yes, they could be fear mongers, but that affects the trust levels in the IEBC?
I'm telling you, if you feared the elections, you can see the level of manipulation that happened in 2022 at Bomas. But the data were very clear. The state itself wanted to use all means, but they couldn't. You see, an election that had produced somebody from opposition to be a president in Kenya, you give it a thumbs up. So I can tell you, looking at the way we conduct our elections, the only thing that we need to invest is to make sure that the transparency at the polling station and the outcome, because you see what we want to build is the opaqueness in terms of the transmission of results. If we are going to make the transmission of results as transparent as possible and as auditable as possible, so that you know if by 1 p.m. for example, from the biometric data, 50 people will have voted. At least you will expect to have 50 ballot. Okay. 50. Those are things that are verifiable. But having said that also, it is important that as Kenyans, we stop creating fear. Like now, you have said that now IEBC have, in the process of creating fear, they have told you that they are no longer trusting biometric, they want now to go to the eye.
Are they creating fear? It's the chairman who's raising this concern.
No, I'm saying, logically, you have gone to school.
But you see, we come from a history.
May I finish that? You have gone to school.
Yes.
The same effect you will get from your fingerprint, biometric, is the same effect you will get from the iris. The same pattern. So why do you want to create fear that now you are no longer trusting the hand, you have now gone to the high? You know,
this
in the process,
itself, Senator.
You know, in the process, that creating fear, you now say you need to change the system so that
the fear is it's not being created now.
So that we can now support. Now, if I tell you, may I finish this one? This is very important, so that we finish. We don't siphon Kenyans by just saying that now let us run from the finger and go to the eye. What difference will you be creating?
All right.
In terms of identification?
The fear is already there. The level of mistrust already exists. Yeah. This is the admission of the IEBC chairperson, not mine, that yes, there's a lot of mistrust in the process. Simply dismissing that kind of concern does not help it.
No, but what we are saying, the chairman of IEBC should also not propagate fear by telling people that now we are no longer trusting the fingerprint.
No, he didn't say no longer trusting.
We have gone to the iris.
DK wants to get very technical. I mean, but just to before I get to that, Fred, DK says I'm contradicting myself. Probably what I should have said was that, there are different levels of elections. When we go for elections, each voter casts 6 votes. And of course, historically, the only vote that has been contested so heavily is the presidential vote. And that's why I said I may not trust the commissioners with the presidential vote, because at the end of the day, it is the chairman of IEBC who is going to announce whom the presidential winner is. And you know, at that level, because when we do our voting at the polling station, there is still that collation and whatever at the IEBC, and the commissioners are the ones that come up or announce to us whom the winner is. So when I say that I trust the process at the polling station level, I was talking about the other elections, the other 5 elections, not the presidential election. And of course, I know that at the polling station, the commissioners may not have any influence, I mean, negative or positive for that matter. I mean, I meant those, but when it comes to the presidential election, then IEBC commissioners have a very big say. And that is why I said they are Ruto's commissioners, and that I trust the process at the polling station level. But when it gets to Bomas, I don't know where they are going to collate this time round in 2027, then it becomes an issue with IEBC. And we know, going by what happened in 2022, we know that some 3 commissioners differed with the chairman. And so that is where the problem normally is, when we have commissioners that we think are not independent. Otherwise, every other contestation that has been there about elections, actually I've seen James Orengo all the time representing Raila Amolo Odinga during petitions, while having secured his seat as senator before and as governor, I mean, in 2022. Because, I mean, the process with the other 5 elections is basically free and fair. It is the presidential election that has a problem. But now with this trust issue, I think whatever we do, I think the trust issue, IEBC should invest in trust at the presidential election. The other elections are okay. I mean, it is, you'll hear of a petition here and there, but basically, I mean, the process for the other elections is okay. So I think the investment should be at the presidential level. And the cost, I forgot to say something about cost. You know, there is training, and this is something that takes very few days to train, I mean, presiding officers and clerks. I mean, we must interrogate these expenditure items, because it is not just in the system and trust issues. We must, IEBC must be able to explain and give a detailed, itemized budget, so that we can interrogate and see where they are actually overspending or overstating, so that we can be able to come up with an affordable budget for elections.
All right. And even as we continue this conversation here in studio, online people are also engaging with us. Daniel Shitandi Onyango, on that issue of whether Gen Zs will register or not, he says, which Gen Zs votes? Gen Z knows that Kenyans cannot be changed through the ballot, but through other means. Democracy tends to benefit a few at the expense of others. These are just some of the opinions, raw as they come. On this other issue of preparations by the IEBC, Kirgit Bull Omari says, scanning iris is good, yet our data is not safe, with WorldCoin taking people a sham process. I remember there are concerns about WorldCoin using the same scanning of the iris. Omuseba Wamakunga also says, if scanning iris is better, leave that registration. And if they have included that process, most people will not register as voters. Flavored Blessing says, but why are you doing it? To scare away people or what? Ngoroko Wellington. And if somebody is blind, I don't know. Flavored Blessing says, before introducing any new move, educate the citizens. Yes, these are just some of your feedback. And I can see a lot of people watching on YouTube as well. From Imaradaima, Collins Odhiambo, from Diani, David Mugada, Henry Githinji from Runyenjes, Gift Otindo from Kirinyaga, Martinez Irongo, Kikuyu, Julius Mwaniki from Lamu, Jared Ondieki South B, Good Rogena from Chemalal in Bomet, and Frederick Odhiambo watching live. Now Benedict Musembi from Huruma. Thank you so much for watching, and keep it here. Meanwhile, at TV47 Digital, that's our X handle, we're asking, do you believe the IEBC will deliver a free, fair and credible voting process that voters can trust? You can take part in that poll as well, and also comment on the same. So the poll is on. I want us now to move to a different conversation.
Maybe before that.
Yes, just a quick...
just to be fair quickly, people, I think Senator Nyotu, you know, when you start departmentalizing your mind so that you believe in a certain part, at the same time, without even listening to yourself, you start also believing in the untruths. If you are saying that for the five seats, the results are not contestable, it is only the presidential that is contestable. You know very well, where the five are counted, also the presidentials are counted and announced at the polling station. So the absurdity of all this exercise, and I wish IEBC could be left to do their work, the absurdity in which the politicians have been able to pollute. And you know, when a politician pollutes, he carries a lot of weight with his supporters until the supporters believe it is actually polluted. Look at the elections of the US. I don't know, have you ever asked yourself where is the IEBC of US? Do you even know? Because the system, the system just runs until it displays the process. So this idea of collating, how can 1 + 1 become so controversial in Kenya? You have added, we know this polling station called Mururuti. The president has the presidential votes, they are 100, what. It is just moves and it is able to be displayed. How do we make collation to be so controversial to a point whereby we go to bombers and and that is why I believe the commissioners, and I say that the commissioners that have to run the IEBC should be men and women who have matured enough to avoid, you know, the other IEBC, the one that Knacherera 4, you remember? They were just catwalking and I don't know, being called by boyfriends, and all of a sudden they just come out of and start making allegations.
Let's not get into that.
Because we need to get into it, because how can 1 + 1 become controversial?
All right.
For sure. How? And then you come out and say the chairman wanted to announce his own results.
And we've spent so much time on that issue. I would want us to dock there, at least on.
So let us all agree, all the counting is done at the polling station for the 6 seats. And whatever the result comes, we all own up, your agent signs, and it is transmitted in the system and shown on the screen. Say that before even the IEBC chairman announces the results, every Kenyan knows these are the results. And you as TB47, you can project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the IEBC chairperson admits that there are serious concerns about the trust levels for the IEBC, and that may have inadvertently led to a very expensive electoral process.
And because of politicians who pollute the process.
I'm glad you agree finally that politicians do contribute to this level of very poor trust.
They even tell you 1 + 1 is not 2, is 5.
It's across board.
And,
all right. Let's now move on to what the dailies have agreed or tend to agree today. It's the biggest story. And look at this. I'm looking at the headline on the Star. Big war rocks Gachagua and Uhuru wings. That's the front page of the Star, the biggest story. Uhuru move jolts Ruto and Gachagua. That's the Daily Nation. That's the biggest headline there on the front page. Take a look at Taifa Leo. Uhuru Gachagua wategana. Habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hilo. The People Daily. Who owns the mountain? That's a question. Uhuru, Ruto, Gachagua in 2027 showdown. Those are 5 dailies talking about the same thing. I think it's only the Standard that's talking about something different, about the SGs of different parties. So definitely it's not a story we can ignore. We've talked about it from Monday till today. No, actually from Friday, following that NDC by the Jubilee Party. And there are serious concerns about the unity of the opposition. Senator Newton. The kind of sentiment we're seeing from the side that you are aligned to is a mixture of suspicion and rivalry with the Jubilee Party, with the retired president, and with Fred Matiang'i. We've seen chants of a project, we've seen accusations of a red wheelbarrow, and many people are wondering, this same Fred Matiang'i was among the United Opposition luminaries. What happened? Is the problem the Jubilee? Is the problem the former president? Or is the problem ownership of the votes in the mountain?
Thank you, Fred. But before that, allow me, you know, DK mentioned me and said that I'm departmentalizing my mind. Just to tell him that unless he has just landed in Kenya, he should know that the last about 4 or 5 elections, contestation has been about the presidential vote. That is not my invention. That is not my creation. That is a historical fact. And I got a little disappointed with DK, who is my good friend, to have dismissed Cherra 4 as people who are being caught by their girlfriends, boyfriends, or girlfriends and catwalking. And for him, the late Chebukati was, of course, then did the best. I mean, I do not want us to get into that, but you cannot, portray people who differ with what you believe as petty people catwalking and being caught by girlfriends, boyfriends.
And I'll request that we do not disparage anyone who's not in this panel.
Yes, so it's important that we do an objective analysis of everything or any other institution when we come here. But having said that, I want to make it very clear that there is no rift between Uhuru and Rigathi Gachagua. That is a creation of the media. There is no, I mean, Uhuru and Gachagua are each building their own parties. Jubilee is Uhuru's party. Gachagua has DCP. And so I don't know where this story is coming from, that the two are fighting. Yes, it's true that there are concerns. And I think the concerns are about Fred Matiang'i. I mean, Fred Matiang'i, who does not want to form his own party, wants to ride on Jubilee Party. And
what is the concern with that?
No, the concern is Jubilee Party is associated with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, right? Jubilee Party, I mean, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta comes from Mt.Kenya. Rigathi Gachagua comes from Mt.Kenya, all right? I mean, if Matiang'i wants to win or wants to join the united opposition in winning against William Ruto, then of course, I mean, can I give you a situation that anyway you would want to look at? Can you imagine in Luo Nyanza, for example, Raila Amolo Odinga has always worked with Kalonzo Musyoka, right? I mean, can you imagine Raila Odinga and, I mean, working with Kalonzo Musyoka, but Kalonzo Musyoka, assuming he had no wiper, goes to Luo Nyanza, you know, gets a party associated with somebody else in Luo Nyanza and decides to make that his party. What does that mean? I mean, that means, no, just a minute. That means, I mean, Matiang'i comes from, and it's unfortunate that we have to, like, you know, get region on this, but Matiang'i comes from the Kisii region.
But if we were to go that way, Jubilee Party is does not really have most of its elected members from Mount Kenya region. Most of the elected members through Jubilee are actually from northeastern Kenya. We can't really say Jubilee is a big party in Mount Kenya.
Yes, that's why I started by saying that it is associated. It's Uhuru Kenyatta's party. I mean, as we speak now. I mean, but you know why it has many members elected from the northeastern region is because it was the ruling party then. I think I would want to see in 2027, now that Uhuru is not a president, how many members will be elected on Jubilee and from other regions, you know? So we must not, you know, we should not close our eyes to realities of politics in our country. That our politics is largely ethnic. I mean, most of the parties that we have in this region, in this country, unless we want to close our eyes to facts, are ethnic based. And what I mean by that is the party leader. For example, the greatest support of ODM is in Luo Nyanza because Raila Amolo Odinga, the party leader, comes from Luo Nyanza. Just a minute, Fred, if you go to if you talk about Fort Kenya is a party for Bungoma and the environs because of Moses Wetangula, who is the party leader. And that is true. Pa of Amason Kingi has members from the coast and basically around Kilifi because Amason Kingi comes from there. I mean, Wiper Party has its strongest support in Ukambani region because Kalonzo Musyoka comes from Ukambani region. Unless now we want to close our eyes to that, that is the fact that parties mostly are associated with the party leaders.
Senator, you seem to agree with the headlines then. You started off by saying that this is a creation of the media. Yet, listening to you, you seem to agree that this is about who is the kingpin of Mount Kenya region, because which is the biggest party? Which party leader are we following?
No.
And this is between Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi.
No.
And that's a question being asked by the media.
But I've told you, I mean, I know you record whatever we say here. I said there is no war between Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua.
No
and I'm
war.
on record. I'm on record. But I said there is a problem with Matiang'i, who wants to jump on a party. You know? He is a presidential candidate, right? But he does not want to form a party. I mean, and while I was giving you an analysis of the party leaders and their greatest support, I was giving you that example so that, I mean, Fred Matiang'i should also have come up with a party that basically, if then what I have said is anything to go by, that basically then would have a support first from the Kisii region. I mean, the two Kisii counties, Nyamira and Gusii. I mean, but Fred, that is what I've given you an analysis of ODM, of Wiper, of PA, of, Ford Kenya.
Because I'm trying to get the difference here.
Yes.
On one hand, you say it is not about Uhuru Kenyatta. Yes, it's about Fred Matiang'i.
Yes.
But now your concern is about the influence that Uhuru Kenyatta will have through Jubilee that could benefit Matiang'i. So aren't you, in the end, saying that, yes, it's about Uhuru Kenyatta and the influence he has over the Mount Kenya?
No. I said there is no war between Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua. This is that time I'm saying that. But I have said there is a problem with Matiang'i. And I gave you an example, Fred.
Okay.
If today somebody wanted to work with Kalonzo Musyoka, for example, say Rigathi Gachagua wanted to work with Kalonzo Musyoka, and I know they are working together. But Rigathi Gachagua does not form his own party. He wants to go to Ukambani, all right? Mm-hmm. And take Gilu's party. What do you call it? Takes Gilu's party.
NAC, yeah.
NAC. And decides to run on NAC. Knowing very well that Kenyan politics being what it is. Knowing very well that NAC will have most of the support will come from the Ukambani region. Rigathi Gachagua, and I'm just giving an example, does not want to use to build his own, start his own party, build his own party, consolidate his region, because there are ethnic blocks in this country. Unless we want to just be, theoretical. Mm-hmm. You know, he wants to use a party that has a following in Ukambani. This particular person cannot have any other interest other than kuvuruga ama kukoroga the Ukambani region.
Okay.
Because if you ask, what following do we have? What following does Jubilee have in Kisii region, for example? So I am not contradicting myself. I'm saying Uhuru Kenyatta and Rigathi Gachagua are not in any fight. And Matiang'i and Rigathi Gachagua are not in any fight either. But there are questions. There are questions some of us are asking ourselves. And when I speak, I'm not the official spokesperson of DCP. And my sentiments here are just personal.
Okay.
As Joe Newton.
You look
about
like
the behavior.
You're very excited to contribute to this particular debate.
Listening to Senator Nyoto, I now believe that he needs a cleanser in his mind. Because what he's talking about, it's only magic. I used to believe we can defeat the united opposition at maybe 11 a.m. But I now believe we shall defeat them when at the opening of the polling station at 6 a.m. Because if this is the mind and the strategy that is going on in that room of united opposition, you and me will agree they are in another generation. Maybe we are in the 21st century, I think they are in 19th century. Because listening to him subdivide Kenyans into regions and tell us, this one, you belong to this region, now you need to form your own party in that region. This one, you belong to this region. You regionalize and try to build apartments of regions to be a united opposition. That house will crumble. We have a united nation called Kenya. And when we are electing, may I even leave the other seats, when we are electing the president, we are electing the president as a unifying factor who will bring unity in Kenya and create that fabric called Kenya. So, but if you have people sitting somewhere called opposition leaders trying to unite themselves, but their mindset is so narrow and their thinking is so narrow that they think about Kenya into regions. And then they believe now they can run, like you have a king in every region, then those kings can appoint one kingdom. And you know, let us not try to create it's also called the Bokanda kingdom in every party. When it is being registered by the by registrar of political parties, it is able to look for support base throughout the Republic of Kenya. It is not registered like DCP is registered as a Mt.Kenya party. That you register Wiper as a Ukambani. Now they want to force Matiang'i go and register the Kisii party. You know, even what is technically saying is that they are so mad on Matiang'i that he has not registered a Kisii party, so that he goes to that united opposition as a Kisii party. And you know, maybe just to broaden your mind a bit, because I can see, depending on where you have zeroed in your configuration of the mind, you tend to think that everything should be regionalized. Even the current Kenya Kwanza is composed of Fort Kenya and ANC. And there's Mudavadi and our speaker. They are both in our coalition. And they both come from the same region of Western. Now, did you hear Speaker Wetangula telling Mudavadi, why are you coming here and you have your own party called ANC? You know, those are archaic and old age reasoning that don't bring unity of purpose in this country. And so that kind of politicians should be condemned and not allowed to germinate in this country. Okay. So I'm very happy. You know, in fact, I'm the happiest person today because listening to Nyotu, and I know where Nyotu stands, he is in the kitchen. And if that is the kitchen, what they are discussing, I think President William Ruto will defeat them at 6 a.m.
Senator, it will be very difficult to actually
may I finish?
Get yourself free from these accusations that you're simply engaging in regional politics.
Yes. May I finish? May I finish? I think he got a lot of time. You see, Jubilee belongs to the party leader is Uhuru Kenyatta. They have all the right to nominate their own flag bearer. If they have decided their flag bearer is Matiang'i, why are they so mad? See, they go and now, like their candidate, and I believe if Wamunyoro does not turn, he will bring a lot of divisions in this opposition. But which is good anyway. You don't teach somebody when he's falling. You don't try to assist him. But I believe even Rigathi Gachagua with this DCP, they know very well constitutionally it will be very hard for them to be able to run for the presidency. Right. So they also may I finish? No. They also have a.
Okay, let's give may
I finish? Also. They also have a candidate in the United. May I finish? They also have and the United Opposition candidate. They also have a candidate who is Kalonzo Musyoka. So what is wrong with Rigiji coming with Kalonzo and Uhuru Kenyatta coming with Matiang'i?
All right. Senator, beating these accusations of regional politics.
Thank you, Fred.
Because even Uhuru Kenyatta himself raised the same, that he would not want to be associated with the regional politics and naming of parties or regional fronts.
Fred, you know, DK today is using a language that I am not used to hear him resist, that I should cleanse my mind. Let me tell you, DK, you know, you are somebody who follows the philosophy of the biggest, a pathological liar in the name of William Ruto. And why I'm saying that, Fred, is when I give you the reality of Kenyan politics, then DK is here is saying that, you know, if that is the thinking they have, I said I am not the spokesperson of DCP or anybody. I said these are my personal views. And I gave you a chronology of various political parties in this country. So I will not hide my head in the sand like the proverbial ostrich. I mean, DK here now is telling us, you know, in Kenya Kwanza, we have Ford Kenya, we have ANC of Musalia Mudavadi, we have UDA. True. But how many now, you should also say, DK, that you're also in a union now with ODM. Tell us, if you're that nationalistic as UDA, in which you are elected, how many MPs were you able to get from Luo Nyanza? So that now UDA becomes a very national party. It is not about the people, the leaders of this particular party. It's about its nationalistic, you know, approach to issues and nationalistic appearance. How many members of parliament have been elected in Luo Nyanza on UDA ticket?
We have Ocheng.
How many? Ocheng is not elected on UDA.
It's a member.
He's not elected.
The MDG is a member of Kenya Kwanza Coalition.
I wish he can give me time. You know, he disparaged me and I waited. And the DK, you are a reasonable person. You have been a speaker of a county assembly. You should be a better listener than a talker. So that's why I listened even when you were disparaging me. So, I mean, now he's telling me that David Ochieng is elected on UDA. Come on, David Ochieng has his own party. He's not elected on UDA. So if UDA, which I also belong to technically, is a very nationalistic party and the thinking there is nationalistic, I mean, why is it not elected? Why don't we have members elected on UDA there? I mean, how many members of parliament have been elected on Fort Kenya outside the Bukusu region? How many? How many members have been elected through PA outside coast, around Kilifi? I mean, what I'm saying, Freddie, is I am not trying to divide this country into ethnic blocks. All I am saying is that we have to be realistic, that our politics center around party leaders. And where the party leaders come from, that is where most of the support for different parties come from. And that is a fact. It is not me saying that. And so what I'm saying is, I mean, let people be realistic. And unless you want to be very unfair to everybody and to brand me as an ethnic-minded person, which is what DK wants to say, I mean, you will agree with me that nobody will work with Raila Odinga and go and take a party, you know, whose party leader also comes from Raila's region, and then this particular person claims that they mean well for Raila Odinga. Okay. I mean, if they mean well for Raila Odinga, for example, they should be able to maybe form a party, you know. Everybody have their strongholds. I think even in the US, people have their strongholds. I mean, the homeboys thing has always been there. Yes, only in Kenya that when you, especially you come from where I come from, anything you say concerning that, then you are branded a tribalist.
Let's flip the coin now and talk about, because the papers actually acknowledge that Uhuru's pronouncements have jolted not just Rigathi Gachagua and the United Opposition, but also the president and his Kenya Kwanza alliance. We've seen a lot of criticism as well going towards the former president, telling him this and the other. And one wonders, even the president himself had to respond to his former boss.
I will respond to that, but allow me also to do a rebuttal of facts. This is a statement of fact. The statement of fact is that Kenya Kwanza Coalition have a representation in parliament in every region. And for the avoidance of doubt, and if you want to verify who are the parties to Kenya Kwanza, you can do it at the registrar of political parties. So I want to inform my good friend, Honorable Nyoto, who has decided to trim his to diminish his mind a little bit to regional, is that in Nyanza, Kenya Kwanza has 3 MPs.
Kenya Kwanza not.
Kenya Kwanza has 3 MPs.
Okay.
UDA has 2 MPs in Kuria. Is Kuria in Nyanza? Is Kuria in Nyanza? They have 2 MPs. Secondly, MDG, whose party leader is David Ocheng, is a member of Kenya Kwanza Coalition. And he comes from Luo Nyanza. And he is an elected MP. So now if you go to Western, even where we had partners like the Ford Kenya and AD and it was called ANC. UDA even as member, they have around eight members of, is it 8 or 12 members of parliament? A very prominent one is Didmas Parasa. Didmas Parasa belongs to UDA. You get? So if I mention in Luo Nyanza and Nyanza in general, so you can tell you, we have members in the entire regions. We have members in Nyanza, we have members in Western, we have members in Rift Valley, we have members in Eastern, we have even Kawaya here in Kalonzo's backyard. He is a member of UDA. We have members in Northeastern, we have members in Coast, because we built a national party. We didn't regionalize, we didn't departmentalize our mind the way Honorable Nyotu has done, to a point whereby somebody was going to school in the 21st century can imagine that you can build kingdoms, and those kingdoms can come and cohabit to produce a presidential candidate. My friend, you will be, these are free advice. You know, sometimes free, unsolicited, unpaid advice. If you continue with that mindset, you will be defeated at 6 a.m. when the polls open.
Okay. Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay, on the Uhuru Kenyatta, we have a lot of respect to Uhuru Kenyatta. First, because as a statesman, a retired former president, we have respect because he has been able to serve this country for 10 years. He had his achievements, he had his pitfalls, and we took over from him. Whichever the situation we found ourselves in, we have been able to improve. So as a statesman, we have a lot of respect. We can differ politically, but we know we are not competing with Uhuru Kenyatta. We shall compete with whoever Jubilee Party nominates as their flag bearer. And that will be our focus. As we are very forthright, we don't want side shows. We are very forthright. We are not fighting Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta, as a citizen of this republic, just like any other citizen, constitutionally, he has the right to make a political choice. And whatever political choice he has made, we respect and we say, as the broad-based, because now, you know, we are the most comfortable in this idea, in this issue, we are the most comfortable.
What about his involvement in politics? Do you agree that he should continue being involved?
You know, constitutionally, you know, there is the tradition that when you retire as a president, you retreat to look after your cattle and things like that, and just build that statesmanship. You know, that's a choice. Mm-hmm. But the former president has chosen, I don't know, because of age, you know, all the other retiring presidents were in 80s, so they were a bit tired. So, you know, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, former President Uhuru Kenyatta is still in 60s? Mm-hmm. He's still in 60s, thereabouts, so he still has energy. What he does with that energy, he has chosen. And we respect that choice. The only thing is that as the broad-based coalition, you know, now we have broadened, by the way, while they are shrinking into kingdoms, as we have broadened in the whole republic. And we respect that choice. Okay. And we know whichever choice he makes, he can make a choice either to support us, we don't know, or to have his own candidate. And in that own candidate, we shall perform a SWOT analysis on him. And having performed a SWOT analysis with Matiang'i, we shall perform a SWOT analysis, and we know what to do. So our focus is to win. You know, the focus of 2 terms. You know, this guy started with the focus of, was it 1 term? The focus of 1 term. Now they have left the 1 term. They are now fighting which region, which is a king of this region, which is a king of this region. This one you should not, you know. Okay. By the way, may I advise Honorable Nyotu? Nyotu, can you sincerely, I know you can read, you can write and you can read and write by the virtue that you have been given that power, having graduated with a degree and thereabout, you have the power to read and write. Can you read our constitution so that you stop accusations at the level where the constitution gives that right to an individual to do, so that we don't argue on things that we have taken blood to put it in black and white in Kenya Constitution 2010. And now we want to create...
Because of time.
Yeah.
I want to pose the same question to you. I know you want to rebut to some of what he said, but Uhuru Kenyatta's involvement in politics, that has also been met by a lot of criticism that he should not and he should retire. Do you agree with that? Is that your assessment?
No, Uhuru Kenyatta is a Kenyan and he has every right to involve himself in politics, first as a Kenyan. Yes. And a Kenyan who has been privileged to be president of this country before. So he has every right, nobody can gag him. He can play his politics in the best way he knows how. He can form a party, he can run a party. It is his right. Nobody, the Constitution does not bar him. But DK, please, I do not need your advice. You know, you keep saying that, let me advise you for free. I do not need your advice, DK, because there is nothing you are saying here that comes from your head. These are only narratives that William Ruto peddles every time. And because he's scared of Rigathi Gachagua, he has tried to paint him as a tribalist. And so DK is not saying anything new here. He's just rehearsing what has been told to him by William Ruto. I mean, come on. How can DK advise me? How can DK tell me that he knows that I know how to read and write? Of course I do. That is why I'm here. And I'm speaking in English, not in my mother tongue. I mean, DK, you cannot insult me here and say that I know how to read and write, that I should read the Constitution while you are hiding your head in the sand. I have not told anybody to form a regional party. I've only given an analysis of the existing political structure in this country.
All right.
I mean, that does not say whom have I told to form a political party, a regional political party. So that now DK comes here, you know, wanting to pontificate and advise me, giving me advice that I do not need. Who has told anybody to form a political party from their region? And DK here is lying and you know, and escaping, evading, you know, issues just to fit his argument. I asked him how many MPs does UDA have in Luo Nyanza. Of course I know Kuria is in Nyanza, but it is not in Luo Nyanza. And he can go and watch my words that I had said. I had not talked about Nyanza. I had talked about Luo Nyanza. And he's telling me about the presence of, you know, Kenya Kwanza in all regions of Kenya. I mean, we will also have a coalition and we'll have, you know, presence in all regions of Kenya. What the DK is avoiding telling Kenyans is that William Ruto came to Kenya Kwanza with UDA. Moses Wetangula came to Kenya Kwanza with Fort Kenya. Musalia Mudavadi came to Kenya Kwanza with the ANC. I mean, Amason Kingi came to Kenya Kwanza with PA. As for UDM Senator for Mandera, I mean, that was a post-election pact. It was not there in Kenya Kwanza. Now in broad-based, you can also say ODM is in Kenya Kwanza, which is okay. But that is a post-election thing. So probably, if I were to advise DK, and I don't think I need to advise him, I may not be qualified to advise him, just as he's not qualified to advise me, I would tell him to remember there is a difference between a post-election pact and a pre-election pact. And you do not even need to read the Constitution to know that. And you know, when somebody wants to escape and peddle this narrative that anybody who talks about facts in Kenya is a tribalist, then they will come here and pontificate as a very national people. I want to ask him, Fred, because he's in Kenya Kwanza, this very national leader that President Ruto, whom he's here to represent, of course, and whose views he brings here, not his own views. I mean, how national is he? I can give you a list here, Fred, of this national, of this. No, but you see, you know, he cannot brand me a tribalist. Yes. I can give you a list here of parastatus.
Okay.
And everything.
Allow me to do this.
Scarlet jeans, where he comes from. Where he comes from.
That's out of
lined in very many parastatus. And he sits here and wants to tell us that he is nationalistic. And his party leader is nationalistic.
And I don't want us
we will not allow
DK
to escape with that.
I don't want us to take that direction. And before I give you an opportunity for your final comments, allow me to read the views of our listeners and our viewers as well. On Facebook, we posed this question. Uhuru's latest move has shaken both President William Ruto and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. With a growing war or competition between the Uhuru and Gachagua camps, who do you think will emerge stronger? And between Uhuru Kenyatta, Rigathi Gachagua, and President William Ruto. Also, the other option is none. It will weaken all. So Abdallah Sula says Gachagua, Munyoro, Tosha, peaceful man. Frederick Kitao says Uhuru. Peter Kuria, Uhuru has his time, he should retire. He had his time, he should retire peacefully. James Juguna says Munyoro, of course. Cheche Kamavule, Uhuru Kenyatta. Mwai wa Mwago. Mtangoja sana mlima itengane. Chill up and wait. The moment tutajua who's the devil's agent, atajua ajui. Kiplagat Maina Rotich says Uhuru is too young to retire. Makori Orina, that's a win for President William Ruto. A disunited opposition will make 2027 a walkover for President William Ruto. Kevin K.E. says Ruto. Baba Viki says Uhuru should just retire honorably. Those are your messages. Yes. Final comments, 2 minutes each.
You know, before that, Indimulu, you know,
you only have 2 minutes here.
Honorable Nyoto has said quite a lot, but I wish to tell him just maybe as he talks so much about DK, he needs also to relax. And I wish you could relax and be able to analyze what we have been able to say here. It's important that let us not also build a narrative that Kalenjins have been appointed to parastatals. I think all Kenyans from walks of life, all of them have been appointed to parastatals. So if you decide to cherry pick by virtue of their names, I think you see the same mental behavior of trying to regionalize things and try to form kingdoms. They are now also trying to scandalize even men and women in the public service to say this one is who, this one is who, this one. Let us not go there. All the workers that we have are Kenyans. Let us give them the opportunity. We criticize whoever is not performing. That one at least we can say this one is not performing, and we replace. But let us not build hatred into our systems. So I would like to tell Honorable Nyo to relax, chill. You have a path that you have taken, which is very narrow and also counterproductive. And I can tell you, as I said, the way you are going, you will be defeated at 6 a.m. I think you better start planning for 2032. I think this one for 2027 is gone. Mambo ni 2-term, and you have even made it more smoother because anyway, I think the list I say about my friend or Nyoto is the better. But for us, we are happy with the kind of coalitions that the president has been able to build. he has now brought the ODM into fold. Now we have the broad base. Now we have the support base. If you go to Northeastern, if you go to Coast, if you go to Western, if you go to... and this mind also of, now we are focusing on the mountain. Now when we are, the kind of fight that is happening in the mountain is also better because...
our time is up.
They started trying to brood themselves into that region, but now things are not going well. So... But
let's allow the senators.
Let us maintain our friendship. Things are like that, Honorable Nyotu. The better you now focus on 2032, the better for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know how many times I need to repeat to DK not to advise me, because I do not need his advice. I don't think want to say it again. Please, DK, you can use that advice on yourself and your coalition. You can go and advise President Ruto, whom you are saying is two-term. Please, let us do our thing. We don't need your advice. But Fred, I must say that it is very painful to see another Tara preaching fidelity. And that is why I'm telling you, DK and the formation that he belongs to is the least qualified to talk about nationhood or, a national mentality. They are the least qualified. Another Tara cannot preach about fidelity. It is an insult to such a congregation. So when he says that we should not, if we had time, I would read for you about 62 parastatos manned. And he wants to...
Senator,
just a minute, Fred.
I requested, that we don't...
yes, but you see, I'm saying I'm not reading, but I have a list here. Okay. So when he says that we should not touch that, it is the Adatara telling you, please, let's not talk about last night. Can we talk about tomorrow? Because he knows he has adulterated the whole night. So please, Fred, and anybody who is a proponent or a Ruto apologist cannot preach to us and tell us that we are tribalistic. So, DK, you can do better. And you can advise people who need your advice, because why are you extravagant advising people who do not need your advice? Go and advise the president whom you are apologist to. Please, let us do our thing. But Fred, we will not be branded tribalists just by giving a political analysis of the parties that we have in Kenya. And just because that is William Ruto's narrative, and then we accept it just because it is his narrative.
Our time is up.
So thank you very much. But DK,
thank
please,
you so much.
There are many people you can advise. Don't waste your energy.
Allow me to acknowledge you, gentlemen. Joe Nyoto, Senator Muranga. Allow me,
2027 will be the easiest presidential election.
Senator Muranga, David Kiplagat, MP Soy, thank you for your time at T47 and for a vibrant debate this morning.
But you see, should withdraw the adult.
One more comment here. Mike Kenya says Nyoto is very wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong in Matiang'i running with Jubilee. Uhuru ran for president under KANU in 2002. Was it a Rift Valley party under Moi? That's a question. Eric Avram says Matiang'i is losing and he won't be able to revive himself in the mountain. DCP is a party of the moment. Jubilee is past, cannot be revived. Once again, a quick look at the dailies.
Before you stop,
Big War rocks Gachagua and Uhuru wings, that's a star. Uhuru move jolts Ruto Gachagua, that's a Daily Nation. Taifa Leo, Uhuru Gachagua wategana rather. And who owns the mountain is a big question. Uhuru, Ruto and Gachagua in 2027 showdown. People did.
But point of order, Honorable Nyoto has used a term that if you allow to go adult, he knows the meaning of adult.
It was a figure of speech. It cannot be that he accused anyone of adultery.
That's how trivial they have become.
He did not.
He does not even understand what a figurative speech is about.
A lot more coming up after the break. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.